Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use, but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool on a Tuesday, the 30th of July, on which you are obviously not being spoken to by Dave Hendrick, but in his stead, it's myself, Trev Downey, from my place here in beautiful rural Ireland, and I am a bit flummoxed as we speak. If I randomly break into a bout of swearing or start headbutting the microphone from pure rage, you will understand I am on the back of trying to tax my new car, and the joy of having my new car has been roundly mitigated in the negative by the inefficiency of the motor tax department here, kind of climbing the walls for the last while. So like I say, if there's sort of random expletives, I haven't suddenly developed Tourette's. It's just an expression of rage. Also, if you hear cars going by, it's because we're having some sort of like mini heat wave here in Meath. And it's so incredibly hot that even walking is causing me to sweat. So I have a window open and I can't do anything else about that. The alternative was put on a fan, and believe me, you would hear that. So all those things out of the way, I wanted to have a chat to you about what's going on in general. I think the easiest thing to do is just take the usual trawl around the websites that Dave normally visits, because there are a couple of big stories, and obviously there's only so much going on at the moment. So, you know, with a daily show like this, most of it will have been hoovered up by Dave already. If I'm touching on topics that have already been touched upon, I do apologise in advance. I've listened to the last couple, obviously, myself, so I'm going to try not to have too much crossover, but, you know, some sort of replication may occur. And I wanted to go first of all to the This Is Anfield site, where there are a couple of very interesting articles. And the first thing that I'm struck by when I look at This Is Anfield is the photograph which accompanies the headline, "Liverpool fans must play waiting game for Arne Slot. We are all in the dark." Now, we're going to have a look at that piece in a second. But in the piece itself, there's obviously the banner photograph for it is a group shot, you know, separate pieces cut and pasted together. We've got a sort of wary looking Wataru Endo. We've got Arne Slot in the middle, and then we've got our new boy, Richard Hughes, on the right hand side. much talk of Richard Hughes, and there was much talk, if you remember, of his kind of predecessor, Mr. Schmadtke, this time last year, mainly because most of us were wondering how he was running things whilst clearly off his banger in Ibiza on a regular basis, trawling clubs and all the rest of it, because it just was comical that he was not actually present when things were needing to be done. Richard Hughes has made some sort of statements to the effect that nothing will probably happen before August the 5th. And when he came in first, everybody's quite fawning about him. I think that tends to happen when fellas have like good hair and are comparatively, presentable looking. It's remarkable. Like the Twitter timeline, I'm talking about the male part of it, just seems to fall in love with them. Anyone who's comparatively neat or presentable at all. And people were wildly charmed by this dude, and his apparent suave way of going on. So I don't understand why they're all starting to lose their patience when nothing has happened. But it's according to the plan as laid out by said suave, beautifully coiffured chap. So it's interesting. Don't get me wrong, I am not one for telling people how to support. I'm really not. If you want to have a whinge on a daily basis, knock yourself out. It's actually good therapy for some people. So I just kind of roll my eyes and try to move past most of it on all topics, to be perfectly honest with you. But I will admit, like I did on the last one of these that I did, that I am sort of very much in the camp that wants to see things done as early as possible. And I don't think that's being an irrational bottom red or whatever the hell category I would fall into for saying such a thing. I'm also not a complete I trust in X, Y, or Z person, because I don't as a human. That's just me. I don't trust in governments. I don't trust in religions. I don't trust in people in authority. I don't trust in anything unless it's earned. And, I am not so sure that we can say when we've got a completely new setup that we trust in X, Y, or Z. So I don't tend to go there either. But again, hats off to you if you are such a faith-based individual. My hat is off to you, and I'm sure that actually gives you quite a lot of consolation. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I wish deals were already done. I'm impatient for them to be done, but I'm willing to take the guy at his word, and we'll see what happens. Let's click on this article. Liverpool fans must play waiting game for Arne Slot. We are all in the dark. This is by Sam Milne on the 29th of July, so it came out yesterday. And straight away in the opening paragraph, Sam is quoting Fabrizio Romano, so I'm a bit worried. Nice picture of Endo in training there, and we've got some lessons learned, and we've got a strange summer for Liverpool. Yeah, right. So let's have a quick look at this piece. For Liverpool, this summer has been further complicated by Slot's arrival. Everything's been delayed for the club as the coach and sporting director Richard Hughes assessed their options. Hughes himself predicted that we wouldn't see any business done until August, which is what I was just referring to. Continuing here, of Liverpool's arguable best 11, 8 haven't had a training session with Slot or actually even met the man. Alexis McAllister probably won't even start the first game of the season, having only returned around 10 days previously after playing all but one game in Argentina's Copa America triumph. While the players on tour in the USA look to be learning well from Slot, it will be impossible to truly tell what kind of position Liverpool in until we have watched a competitive game. Now, this is where, again, just another tangent here, the talk about friendlies and all the rest of it and pre-season friendlies is sort of there's an element of pointlessness to it, but there's also some things that we can obviously see. And listening to Dave talk about the last game on the show yesterday, and talk about the sort of impression that you get from looking at the training, I think it's fair to say that we're off to a good start with Slot, in that at least it looks like there's a dynamism to the tactical approach. It looks as if there is a cleverness afoot. It looks also, from the little training clips that we've seen, that there is a sort of a fun factor there as well. And why wouldn't there be? Unless Arnie turns out to be a terrible set of lads altogether, and his coaching staff are awful, of course, there's going to be a whole getting to know you, wanting to impress you thing going on. That's going to be the vibe. So and I think people have said, like people like Harvey have spoken up, and Curtis Jones has spoken up and talked about the positivity. Harvey said it's going to take a while to get into it, but as I say, we just need to keep trusting what they're teaching us, what they're coaching us, and, make sure we keep going and don't get frustrated if things don't work out. It's new. We just need to, as I say, keep trusting it. There's that trust again. I suppose a completely different concept here, though. And that's the crux of things. Sam continues here. Supporters are in the dark about transfers, so try not to fret. Nobody's ever seen Slots Liverpool play a competitive game, and that won't change until August 17th. Going to be very interesting to see who starts there. Yeah, so, something and nothing in that article, but worth a quick look. This one here from yesterday as well. Jack Lusby saying selling Waturo Endo would be a cold, logical decision for Liverpool's new era. He says here that Waturo Endo will be far from the top of Liverpool's agenda, the selling of him, that is. A shift in power this summer makes it more realistic that he could be made available. And this is, again, feeding into the thing that I was led to believe by the incredibly positive response to the return of Michael Edwards and the introduction of Richard Hughes and the return of some more of the older heads from that era coming back. I was blown away by the positivity. I didn't think it would match the sadness about Klopp's departure, but it really did. Some people so incredibly high on this backroom structure setup that there was a lot of talk about now we just, everything's going to be ruthless. Everything's going to be run properly again. We're making Liverpool great again. And I don't understand why the people were quite so high on it. One of the other, when you're as old as me, one of the other things that is that truism of never go back. So I don't know. And it's clear Edwards is not going to be doing the same thing, and he could be very distracted by this, second club model and have his attentions elsewhere. I'm very much, let's wait and see. But the concept was that things were going to be ruthless. So I guess that means everybody's up for grabs, really. Again, I heard Dave saying yesterday, probably all bar 6 or 7, maybe 8 lads are up for grabs. And, I think that's fair. That's a fair thing to say, as there's no emotional attachment to these guys from the new incumbents. And we all have emotional attachments to them. Some people, for example, really imprinted heavily on Wataru Endo because, he's got a great way about him and the gum shield, and he is a battler. Granted, it didn't work out great in the early days. He looked a little bit like he was getting monstered in tackles and stuff. But when he grew into it, there's a real footballer there for sure, and a really good squad player at worst. Something that Endo seemed to be quite content about being as well when he was interviewed about new signings and the potential of new signings coming in. I thought he was very phlegmatic. He said, it's good to have competition, and he was welcoming it, and not in that kind of snide way that players do, where they say it but they really mean I need to be starting. So I don't know, maybe Endo does make sense as a kind of guy who could be moved on. There was apparently an offer from Marseille of 14 million euros, about 11.8 million pounds, that was rejected. So whether or not that means we're playing hardball and we're quite content that there's going to be a better offer rolling in, who knows? I'm not sure. He is, of course, one of the Schmatke signings. I think there was a clause that was triggered. That's a Big George used to love to trigger a clause. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens with him. But so many other players could be in that same boat where the new incumbents, like I say, are not emotionally attached to them, and therefore do not deem them as utterly indispensable. And maybe even one or two of the guys Dave was mentioning yesterday, like perhaps a Trent, who could perhaps face or fetch an outrageous amount of money, maybe that would be considered too. As far as I can see, as far as I understand, pretty much everything's up for grabs there. And I suppose it would be healthy for people to get their heads around that, because I think, for example, a move away for Trent or even Mo, despite all the talk about the Saudi stuff, I think that would rock people back in their heels as we went into a new season very, very heavily. Just a word on the outrageous physical condition of Trent Alexander-Arnold in those pictures that I presume he had taken of himself as he was training. I mean, there's the highest possible compliment you can pay a fella is that he actually resembles Mo Salah in terms of his torso and arms and shoulders and all the rest of it. I mean, that is, like I say, the highest possible praise. And Trent is in just outrageous, Nick. So that, if nothing else, is good to see. And I really hope we see the season starting with Trent being a world-class, one-of-a-kind, reinventing the position right back again. Because, you know, the midfield flirtation thing is fine, but that's all it was, and that's all it deserves to be, unless we're going to embrace it fully. And I don't know. Again, everything's up for grabs, though. You don't know. You just don't know what Slot is going to do until he does it. And there could be a lot of surprises yet to come in this pre-season era as well. What else have we got here? Yeah, basically just chatting away along the same lines as me, talking about Hughes and Edwards and Julian Ward and all the boys and how they're going to have a different approach. There are, interestingly, here 5 players over 30 in the Liverpool squad. Van Dijk at 33, Mo at 32, Alisson at 31, Endo same age, and Robbo is 30. But I do think that of those, it would seem to be almost pointless to consider doing anything but extending Virgil van Dijk and, you know, making sure that he stays at the club. Because A, you're not going to get the massive amount that people will think he's worth because of his age. And B,
when you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
he's the best we've ever had, and he could continue to evolve into a different player, even if he does lose a bit more pace. He's just an awesome, awesome footballer to have. And I think will probably grow even more so into the club captain leader role, that I think really suits him, and I think he may have sort of been adapting to last year. Salah, I want to see playing for us until the end of his days as well. And again, I think, despite the fact that it is Mo Salah, a lot of people will probably end up being disappointed by the fact that we won't get like a world record fee for him. You just think Mo Salah, you don't think Mo Salah 32. And so, for me, there's no great benefit. There was nonsense talk about 200 million from Saudi clubs this time last year. But they seem to have a different way of working this year. And whereas they may be content to pay big wages and stuff, they don't seem to be content to do the ludicrous fees in terms of transfers. So that's interesting too. So Virgil and Mo, I'd be very much on for keeping. Alisson, I don't even have this conversation. He's 31 years of age. He could play until he was 39 or 40 and be fantastic. We could have Ali in goal for us for another decade, depending on whether or not the injuries become a more regular thing. He's the best. Why would you ever consider allowing him to go? Even though I've heard rumours that he had considered it. I also heard a very weird thing that he would have possibly gone or considered very strongly going if Taffarel had gone. But that could just be John Achterberg talking bollocks. Endo is the one that we were just talking about, he is, I guess, at 31, someone that, you know, has a couple of good years left in him for sure. We're not keeping him around because of his pace. And I think if we could get the best version of Endo as he played at his best last year, which was very, very good, if you ask me, I think he's a super addition to have around the place. And again, seems to be a top man as well. And Robbo, this is the one that divides me. I understand the arguments that are made about how he has been very much a sort of diminishing returns individual in terms of his performance over the last couple of years. I think it's impossible to argue that. And I think it's also impossible to argue that when you have a dressing room full of characters, to have someone that is as dominant and as boisterous and upbeat and influential as Robbo, you can't underestimate things like that. They're intangibles to an extent, and I just like the idea of Robbo being around, but I don't think Robbo would like the idea of Robbo being around if he's not playing. I mean, he's captain of his country. He will be very firmly of the opinion that he is obviously the best left back at the club, and he's right. Even though, I hate to say it, one or two people have probably done a better job than him as stand-ins. Joe Gomez, take a bow. But at his best, of course, and he will feel that he can recreate his best form at only the age of 30. So he's another one I just don't see going anywhere. If you ask me, we roll into the new season with all our inverted commas old boys network intact, and I think that that's a solid move, if you ask me. Now, I do have to, before we go to AnfieldIndex.com, I do have to stop and pause and read you a tweet that I just read. And it goes like this. But in Ryan Gravenberch, I genuinely believe you have all the tools to build a new Rodri. I said many times last season that when it comes to receiving the ball and having the right orientation, the only player that came close to having a better first touch was Thiago. This is from Watch LFC, an account which has 221,500 followers, followed by 125 of my mutuals, not by me, I might add. And that may well be the maddest collection of sentences that I've seen put together by any one human, but it is a belter to start with. Just let me just say that out loud again. But in Ryan Gravenberch, I genuinely believe you have all the tools to build a new Rodri. That's that's tremendous. Let's go, if we can, to Anfield Index now and see what our own lot are up to. Liverpool CEO says Jurgen Klopp's departure allowed a reset at the club, and of course this is there's been a lot of chat with Billy Hogan since Klopp's departure. Lots of different interviews emerging from different fan media as well, so fair play. I think This Is Anfield were possibly getting a few words from him. I saw one or two of the others did as well. And here I want to get these quotes. By the way, as well, just let me interject here. I've seen a lot of chat about how Arne Slot is incredibly busy. He's having meetings every day. He's working really hard and all the rest of it. And he's 45, lads. You know, he's 45. I spent 18 hours in the garden yesterday doing hard physical labour. I'm 51. I don't think it's a stretch that a 45-year-old fella should be working hard in his new job. I don't understand this. It's like this kind of thing where you see someone and they shake hands with a little kid or on the sideline or something like that, and you get all these fawning articles. Oh, touch of class. No, it's just what you do. It's just called being a person. Similarly, when you get into a new job, not to sound all Roy Keane about it, but that's what you do. You work hard. You want to make an impression. these endless articles I'm seeing about how busy Arne Slot is, all these meetings. Well, what else is he going to do except be busy and have meetings and work hard? Anyway, that just really wound me up when I saw that. He's 45, for Christ's sake. He's got all energy to burn. It's the least he should be doing. Back to Billy Hogan, and here we go. He's talking about, quote, an opportunity for a reboot or reset, and maybe look at things, how things operate going forward. And he says, despite his own connection with him, he says, quote, Jurgen departing was a seismic decision, but clearly the right decision for him and his family. So, by extension, the right decision for the club. And again, just to tie into what I was just saying, we will never, ever, ever forget the famous and ongoing meme of I'm running out of energy. Jurgen sitting there looking bedraggled and telling us that he just didn't feel he had the verve, the passion in him anymore. So, again, maybe Arne, with his incredibly youthful energy and incredible work ethic of having meetings and working hard, maybe that's exactly what we need. I'm not trying to say that Klopp was phoning it in last season. Clearly he wasn't. If anything, I think his announcement revitalised him and the team. But a new energy, even though people fear change, is often a fantastic thing. So it's worth keeping a very optimistic view about that, I would have thought. We've also got a little mention here of the new sporting director, Richard Hughes, and Pedro Marquez as technical director, who, according to Hogan, will inject, quote, new energy and vision into the club's operations. Hughes and Marquez will concentrate on transfers and supporting Klopp while FSG continues to pursue a multi-club structure, etc., etc. Have you anything else from Hogan here? Yeah, he says, I think it's important that the rules have teeth. This is in relation to the financial controls and the sustainability rules. He says, I think it's important that the rules have teeth, and if clubs fall foul of that, then the Premier League is a process to go through. We are supportive of those rules and being sustainable. Look, we have proven that we're going to do things the right way. It's also been proven that doing things the wrong way does not get punished, or if it does, it gets punished in a way that is probably not going to be half as dramatic as people are expecting. People are still expecting, for example, that Manchester United, that Manchester City will be divested of titles and relegated to the bottom tier and all the rest of it. And I've said on shows before, but I'll inject some of my fellow Meath man cynicism into Dave's show here and say, I know he believes that there's a possibility that'll happen. It clearly should happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a big financial slap on the knuckles. And as with massive pharma companies and other types of businesses all across the world, that's just the cost of doing business. You eat that up. It's the cost of doing business, and you march on. And I think that's what's going to happen, because they're going to out-lawyer everybody. Hopefully I am a terribly, terribly depressive and pessimistic man, and I'll be proved completely wrong. Let's have a look at one more article before I let you go here, from AnfieldIndex.com. And we're going to go slow here. Oh yeah, I like this one. I want to have a quick read at this, because he's a very sound man, is Stephen Smith, and he has written a piece called Curtis Jones' Slot Praise is, quote, no disrespect on Klopp. Jones praising Slot, it says here, does not disrespect Klopp. And again, this is what I was citing earlier on, the upbeat way in which Curtis was speaking about the training and life under Arne Slot. And Steve says here in his second paragraph, I've chosen to see the words in a positive light. However, the 6'1" controlling midfielder did state that the new patterns of play came as a breath of fresh air, something which is enabling his own skill set even more. Many Jurgen Klopp loyalists, says Steve, appear to have taken this as a direct criticism against the legendary former manager. which I believe is something that's been taken out of context. And again, of course it has. And Steve's hit on a really important point here. We do live in 2024 in a world where more people are ready to take more offence than at any other point in the history of the globe. So of course people are going to get bent out of shape, and people who are more Klopp fans than Liverpool fans are going to see that as some sort of slight on him. Whereas the chap is just articulating enthusiasm about the new setup that he has to be part of and that needs to work if we're going to win a trophy. Maybe don't be so retrograde in your ideas. Maybe don't seek to find some sort of angle that isn't there. As Stephen says, the lad himself has often split opinion, and after an initial 30 minutes against Betis, an injury occurred which forced a precautionary substitution. This circumstance has added fuel to the Anfield fire, I guess, as the plague middleman failed to back up his words with yet another ailment. Yeah, I mean, there is that. That was unfortunate. And that's one of the reasons why I think Dave yesterday was saying that Curtis is one of those people that, despite being probably very well suited to working with this new manager, if someone came in with daft money, because, and purely because of the constant niggles, you might have to consider it with Curtis. But I do like the fact that people are being positive and not sort of feeling the need to say, oh, well, nothing's ever going to be as good as Jurgen. But, you know, he's sound. Because what even is that? What sort of a way of approaching anything is that? We are in it now. We are now being managed, coached, whatever, by Arne Slot. This is the new era. Klopp is gone. You know, no matter how much you loved him, he's gone. Constantly referring to him, constantly making out him the focal point is daft. As daft, for example, as the person who was saying that he was easily second only to Shankly, and I know that the guy in question that I saw saying it, he doesn't know anything about Shankly. He's like me, not old enough to have been witnessing it properly. It's just, you know, it would be blasphemy to say otherwise, I guess. But, you know, completely failing to acknowledge Bob Paisley's incredible record as Liverpool manager, trophy record, which again is the only thing that will always go against Kloppo in the greater pantheon of Liverpool managers. To be fair, I think the cultural change that he brought about does make him comparable in a way to Shankly, and so therefore that's his big legacy. He's returned us to being a club that's, to use a Brendanism, in the conversation for all the big trophies. I'll be perpetually grateful to Jurgen for that. I just, because I'm a pain in the arse, wish there were more of those trophies after what was such an incredible spell with a fantastic manager and a fantastic set of players. You know what? I think I'm going to leave it at that. I want to let you know what's coming up from the channel in terms of podcasts, so bear with me here for 1 second while I do that. Yes, the podcast lineup for the week is certainly taking shape. I'll be doing a Media Matters later on. No, I won't. I'll be doing a transfer show later on with Dave Davis. I'll also be doing a delayed Anfield Index podcast with Cy Brundish. And on some other day during the week, I'll probably do another AIP with Lisa Marie. As well as that, we've got Media Matters, which was out on Monday. And it looks as well like there is at least one or two more things. I can't confirm or deny any of those just yet because we're still a work in progress here in terms of the WhatsApp chat. So plenty of content to come out. You know you're going to have young Hendrik back with you tomorrow doing the things that you like from this show. I hope I haven't disrupted your listening pleasure too much. But from myself, Trev Downey, I want to say thanks to Dave for the honour of getting to stand in for him. I do appreciate it. This is my one and only and therefore favourite football show, and Dave understands quite how highly I rate him. I suppose the simple way of saying it is I don't listen to anything else. I've ceased to listen to other things because what's the point? when you've got young Hendrik going through everything for you. So that's about as high a praise as I can manage. And of course, then people will say, when we get into week 2 or 3, that if we don't have a big fight on Raw, that I'm brainwashed or just agree with them or whatever. But, you know, if you're right, most of the time I'll agree with you. That's how things work. And of course, we disagree on loads of stuff. So it's an honour to get a chance to step into Dave's shoes. I want to say that you should be listening to this all the time. If you've just picked this up new today and you had the misfortune of having me as your first time, make sure to listen tomorrow. The Daily Red is where it's at. Good luck.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Get back to your personal best with Fresh Time Market's Summer Vitamins and Body Care Sale. From now until Tuesday, July 30th, get 30% off on thousands of wellness products department-wide. From nutrition-boosting supplements to hydrating summer skincare, let your best self shine with self-care savings. Brighten your summer with products and savings you'll feel great about at your neighborhood Fresh Time Market. Go to FreshThyme.com and find a store near you.